Today I'm going to share with you part 6, Through the Pain. Debbie stayed in the medical center for a couple of days. I drove an hour one way every day from Newville to Hershey to stay with her at the center all day. We would watch TV, some Western shows, Walker, Texas Ranger. She liked that. We watched Cops too. The center had a cafeteria. I'd go get food for her and bring it back when it was mealtime. Finally, the amputation was done at the Hershey Medical Center, below the right knee. The surgery took 4 hours. Don and Linda were there with me that day. They got to talk to her beforehand and help her through it a little. And the two of us got to see her in the recovery after it was over. Debbie was in the Hershey facility for 2 weeks before she had the surgery. So I was worried all the time too. When I went to Hershey after the surgery, I always hoped I'd run into Dr. Heim, the vascular surgeon who performed the operation, and thank him for taking care of her. I never got to see him again, but I really appreciate his care. Doctors are a really hard job, and I'm sure it's good to know sometimes when the work is appreciated. They were doing therapy at the medical center to get her ready to go to different therapy places. Finally decided she would go to a facility in Mechanicsburg for that additional therapy. The idea was that Mechanicsburg did work aggressively and get her better and ready to come back home. That was just the start of it. The night before she was supposed to come home from Mechanicsburg, something happened. Somehow she fell and broke her other leg. That delayed the whole process, but they couldn't do anything until that leg healed. The day she broke her leg was the day she was supposed to come home for an evaluation at the house to see if she could make it on her own. Debbie was in a lot of pain for a while. They said it wasn't broken. We had to be persistent for a day or so to go back to the doctor and get the x-ray done. I went in and said something about it because I knew it had to be done. There's a doctor whom Debbie was working with who was good at that sort of thing. The x-ray proved it was broken. With a good leg broken, she could do anything. She had to go back into therapy. That delayed everything. I guess I can admit now that for a while I was mad and wanted to sue, but my wife calmed me down. Debbie said she didn't need that. She was the one who was injured, yet she still wanted to see the better side. I figured I'd better back off that idea. In the end, I think not suing was the right decision. A lawsuit probably wouldn't have done us any good. It would have just stressed us out. But sometimes I can get rather excited about these kinds of things. I think that through all of this, I have more patience now than I did before Debbie taught me that. When the garage I had trouble with our car, I got mad and started screaming at the manager. She calmed me down. I'm not proud of losing my temper like that, but I used to do that. I could take some things for so long, and then I had enough. Now I've learned to handle things like that with more patience and explain myself calmly. Because yelling doesn't help. The other person just gets upset more. Sometimes it makes us feel better, though. After all that, the facility called and told me they couldn't do the therapy anymore. So Debbie was transferred to Claremont Nursing and Rehabilitation Center in Carlisle. Claremont was a good facility. She had a friend who was there at the same time, and they were able to eat together while she was there. Debbie stayed at the nursing facility for a couple of weeks. The leg got infected again. She went back to Hershey and said they would treat the infection. Then they got a call about 1 o'clock in the morning, informed that they were going to have to take it above the knee. Another amputation. That was hard to hear. I drove in and spent the night in her room. They weren't sure when the doctor would come in, and I wanted to be there to talk to him. During the second surgery, we almost lost her. I remember that there were 5 doctors in the room. They let me stay in the room as long as I stood far enough back. That was out of their way. I guess they brought me in case something happened. I should be there. Through this, I learned to be a patient advocate and ask the doctors questions. Sometimes we weren't really sure what they were doing, and I had to ask a lot of questions. I did it for her because I really loved her and wanted to make sure things were done correctly. Sometimes the doctor would say, "Oh, we're going to send her home." when I thought it was really time to wasn't really time to go home yet. I learned a lot about health insurance too. Being there for someone and being that advocate is very important. There are times when I need to make phone calls and other times when I had to get there before visiting hours, start to catch the doctor, because sometimes they'd be really early. Our local hospital didn't push strict visiting hours that much, so you could go in early and catch the doctor. After the second operation, they moved to Common Crossings, an assisted living community, also in Carlisle, where they had a therapy facility. Her leg was starting to heal to the point where they could do a little therapy. Debbie always worked so hard on rehabilitation because she wanted to come home and be with me.